The sealed envelope sat in a private archive for over 2 decades, its contents hidden from the world. Inside was a letter written by a princess who knew she was being watched, whose every word was dissected. She wrote it for one pair of eyes only, her son. This wasn't a public statement. It was a private confession, a warning, and a mother's final attempt to protect her child from the institution she knew would try to consume him. Now, that letter has finally surfaced, and its words are nothing like anyone ever anticipated. Before we uncover what really happened, tell us in the comments, what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding about this story? The glove compartment of a parked car in a quiet London street. This is where Princess Diana stored the letter she never intended for the public eye, a private note written to a stranger who had reached out with kindness. It wasn't addressed to a royal advisor or a confidant. It was a reply to someone who had simply written to her. And inside those pages, she revealed something she rarely spoke of publicly. What she wanted most for her young sons, William and Harry, as they grew up surrounded by palace walls. These words would remain hidden for nearly 3 decades. In the days following her explosive Panorama interview, Diana sat down at Kensington Palace and wrote. She was exhausted, still reeling from the public confession that had shaken the monarchy to its core. But this wasn't about the interview. It was about a future she desperately hoped to shape for her children. And the line she wrote would take on an entirely new meaning decades later, one she could never have imagined. But the most haunting question remained unanswered. Why did she feel she needed to write it down at all? The letter that recently surfaced wasn't meant for a stranger's collection. It was a private correspondence, a 2-page handwritten reply to a man named Michael Barrett, who had written to Diana in the wake of her explosive Panorama interview in November 1995. She responded from Kensington Palace, using her Crown D stationery, offering thanks for his kind words. But within that response, she revealed what mattered most to her. She wasn't dwelling on the turmoil that had just been broadcast to millions. She was looking ahead to William, then 13, and Harry, just 11. She spoke of her hope for the future, of sharing with and teaching William and Harry the importance of communication on a deeper level. Even from the seclusion of her palace study, Diana's focus was fixed on the boys she wanted to protect. She was teaching them a lesson she felt the institution was incapable of offering, a blueprint for a connection she knew would be tested. But what she was really trying to build was a foundation between 2 brothers. A foundation she never could have imagined would, decades later, need it the most. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe so you never miss our next documentary. She wrote those words from a place of deep knowing. Diana understood something about the institution she had married into, that the machinery of the monarchy had a way of silencing voices and fracturing bonds. She had experienced that isolation firsthand. Her letter to Michael Barrett wasn't just a polite response to a well-wisher. It was an emergency broadcast from a mother who was running out of time to shape her children's emotional armor. She was trying to give William and Harry a compass that would guide them through a world where even family members could become strangers. But what Diana could not have foreseen was how prophetic her plea would become. The words she wrote about communication on a deeper level now read like a heartbreaking premonition. Less than 2 years after she sealed that envelope, she was gone, and the relationship she had so desperately tried to fortify was left to navigate a labyrinth of grief, duty, and circumstance without her guiding hand. If this story surprised you, share it with someone who would enjoy uncovering forgotten Hollywood stories. The letter's true weight, however, wasn't fully understood until the envelope was opened decades later. Those who have examined it note that Diana's handwriting shifts throughout the 2 pages, steady and controlled when she speaks of royal duties, then noticeably looser, almost urgent, when she turns to her sons. It's as if the very act of writing their names unlocked something raw in her. She wasn't just thanking a stranger. She was using that opportunity to speak a truth she couldn't voice anywhere else. And the most devastating part of all? She ends the letter not with a request for privacy or a reminder of her own suffering, but with a simple, deeply maternal hope. She writes that she prays William and Harry will always remain close. Not for the sake of the crown, not for public image, but for each other. She was building a defense against a future she could see coming, a future where the brothers would have to rely on one another when she was no longer there to bridge the gap. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was just how soon that bridge would be tested. If you enjoyed this documentary, Like the video and subscribe for more true celebrity stories every week.